Hi and welcome. I'm Kate. I'm a freelance writer living in Montreal, and today I'm going to talk about how I spend my $3,850 income. As I mentioned, I'm a freelance writer, and that is basically like glorified gig economy worker. It's really hard to know exactly how much I'm going to make every month, so I try to stick with a $3,850 budget even if I'm making more money than that. I find that it just like gives me a better sense of control and stability over my finances. And then I put everything else onto my debt repayment. Unfortunately, I am still in a lot of debt. I have other videos outlining exactly how I got into debt and why I'm still working through it like 2 years later. So let's get into it. I use the Dave Ramsey app to track my spending. I know there are better options out there. I see a lot of people using like Notion templates or like just other app. For me, I've been using this one for over 2 years and I just feel like the habit is ingrained. It does what I need it to do, so I don't mind it. As I said, my planned spending is $3,850. I've never gotten into the nitty gritty of the Dave Ramsey app. So like I see at the top it says I still have $1,021.02 left to budget, but I don't know. So from general freelancing, I have 3,850. Like I said, it's usually more, but this is what I stick with. And then from there, we go into the unfortunately we skip over the giving category. I actually like don't love that the Dave Ramsey app doesn't allow you to change the categories because I don't have an allocated amount of like donations that I give every month, and like it always makes me feel kind of guilty. I don't know. I guess his like methodology is that you should always be giving even if you're paying off debt, but for me it's just like I don't know. I give sporadically, but I don't plan for it every month. Sorry. Next category is housing. The list is kind of all over the place, but so I guess I'll start with my rent. My rent is $1,450. I live in downtown Montreal in a tiny studio apartment. I feel like it's probably around 200 200 to 250 square feet, which seems really small maybe for like the average person, but I love it. It feels like living in a little hotel room, and I don't mind that. I actually feel like it makes me like a cleaner and more well organized person. So, yeah, I don't mind. Um, my building also has multiple gyms and a pool and a little like spa area with saunas and hot tubs. So I save money that way by not having a gym membership. And it's in downtown, like right in the center of the city. So it's very walkable. And yeah, I feel like it might be on the higher side for rent, but I just like would prefer to not live with roommates or live like far outside of the city, especially because I don't drive. I don't know. I like being in the center of action. Next up, I guess I'll just go in the order that it's listed here. I pay $37.77 a month for internet. I feel like I have one of the lower internet packages, but I don't have any issues with it. Like I work from home, I'm like constantly streaming stuff and it works fine. And then next up is power, which is Hydro Quebec. Um, so that is 31.21 and it's regulated, so it's the same every month. Like right now it's March, but it will cost the same like in the summer if I'm using AC or in like the heavier winter months when I'm using a lot of heat. It's just like I forget the word, but it's like the average of every month for the past year or something. So it's a fixed expense, which I really like. There's moving, which was not a planned expense, and I will actually get into that in a different video, I think, because moving from Istanbul to Canada and then from my hometown of Halifax back to Montreal was very expensive. And I didn't have an emergency fund, so yeah, that's a whole nother story. And then there's my tenant insurance, which was required by the building and also my landlords. It's 45.48 per month. So then we go into transportation. I actually got my driver's license like a year and a half or 2 years ago, which is funny because I'm 33 years old. But I still prefer taking public transportation and walking. This says Istanbul card because I was living in Istanbul before moving back to Canada. I guess now it should say STM. I will edit it later. The planned amount is $21, which is what I was spending in Istanbul. I feel like here it might be a little bit more. Um, like I said, I live downtown, and downtown Montreal is like very walkable. Like you can walk to St. Henry, you can walk to the plateau, which is where most of my friends are. So I'm hoping it will stay around that, but we will see. Next up is the food category. So in groceries, I spend around $250 a month. Um, I was spending a little bit less than this when I was living in Istanbul, but I was the year before when I was living in Halifax, I was spending around $250. So I'm assuming here in Montreal it will be around the same. There's a budget grocery store by my apartment, which is really great. That's where I do most of my like basics shopping. But then living in Montreal, of course, like there's so many good cheese shops and like bakeries. The outer market is nearby too, so I might end up spending a little bit more, but we will see. I would like to keep it around 250 to maximum 300. I'm also a vegetarian, or like I guess pescatarian. So I think my grocery budget is a little bit lower because of that as well. And then the next category is restaurants slash entertainment, which I feel like $60 a month might be a pipe dream. That's around what I was spending when I was living in Halifax and I was in extreme debt payoff mode. But it's because I had like no social life, basically. I didn't go to a single restaurant the entire year that I lived there. My socializing was pretty much like once a month going to a high school friend's house and once a month going to a trivia night with my brother and his girlfriend. So I think it's safe to say that I will be spending more than $60 on restaurants and entertainment in Montreal, but hopefully not significantly more. I love restaurants. I love eating out. Like, I love the culture of it all, but I'm still in debt payoff mode. So I think living in a city like Montreal, where I'm still trying to live on the frugal side, might be a bit of a challenge. I'm actually a little bit worried about that. So before I moved to Istanbul, I was living, and before I moved to Halifax, I lived in Halifax for a year while I was sorting out my Turkish visa. And then I lived in Turkey full time for a year. So before all of that, I lived in Montreal for 12 years. And that's when I got into a lot of my debt. So I kind of feel like being back here, it's like a test of my will in a way. Like I have all of my friends, like my old close knit group of friends all live in Montreal. My favorite restaurants are here. Like ask anyone in Canada and they will tell you like the best restaurants in Canada are all in Montreal. Like there's just like a lot to spend your money on here basically. The cost of living is definitely like one of the best in Canada. Like that's was another reason why I decided to move back here when I had to move back to Canada, but just like my social network here is a lot bigger and there's like so many things to do that I feel like yeah, $60 a month is not going to cut it, but I also just like kind of feel like I have to tell myself no, like and keep it like just like keep it to a reasonable amount while I'm still in like extreme debt payoff mode. So the next category is personal. I feel like these categories are really random, but anyway. So in my personal, I have my phone bill and my subscriptions. My phone bill sits at 53.52. It's the same every month. I think that's like reasonable for unlimited data and what have you. Um, Yeah, I think that's fine. I would like to switch providers eventually or like in the near future because I'm with Virgin and I just like, yeah, I don't really want to be with them anymore. Um, but for now, 53.52 is fine. And it comes with a free subscription to Crave. So it's kind of cool that way. Like I can just watch my Crave shows, watch my Heated Rivalry and my Sex in the City for free. Um, Next up is subscriptions. I feel like this category is really low and reasonable. So I basically spend around $4 a month for Netflix, and that is because I have a Turkish Netflix subscription. I signed up for it in Turkey, and I guess the like cost is different based on where you are, and it still works in Canada, so that's fine. And then I also pay for Apple Care for my iPad for some reason. I honestly don't know why. I don't pay for it for my phone or my MacBook, but I started paying for it when I got an iPad like 3 years ago, and I just keep paying for it. I don't know why. um, but yeah. And then I have like, I used to pay for Spotify, but the Turkish price for Spotify is like something like $2 a month. So my boyfriend, who is still living in Istanbul, he pays for that for me, which is really nice. And I use my mom's Amazon Prime account and her Hayu account so I can watch The Real Housewives and Below Deck and all of that good trashy stuff. So that's the subscription situation. So next up we have lifestyle. I honestly, who made these categories? It was me. But like, anyway, okay. So in lifestyle, we have pet care and work stuff. I have a cat. He's a 14-year-old sweet baby cat named Ollie. I love him so much. He's sleeping on my bed right now and he looks so peaceful. But yeah, he's been with me since he was a baby and now he's 14. So we've really grown up together. But because he is a senior cat, I feed him a very specific food. It's a Hills Science Plan, like urinary care, because male cats, they, not to get too into it, but they have like, they can have urinary blockages if they're not eating the right kind of food that helps prevent dehydration. That's how I understand it. So I get like basically the most expensive food for him. I buy a really big bag and it lasts a couple of months. So this $40, it's kind of like how it balances out the food and his litter. Just like the average of it month over month, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm thinking of switching to Pretty Litter though, which is definitely more expensive, but I feel like it would give me a lot of peace of mind. And then this does not include any like surprise expenses for Ollie. Once I'm out of debt, I'm thinking of creating a sinking fund for him just because like he's 14 years old. You never know what could happen. And in the past, when he's had to go to the vet, I kind of just put it on my credit card and like deal with it later. But I feel like there would be a lot of peace of mind of knowing that I have the money just in case or like when he does have to go to the vet unexpectedly. And then there's the work stuff category. So this is mainly newsletters and Substacks that I subscribe to from other freelance writers. So there are quite a few freelance writer um, basically, how do I explain this? They're like lists that writers put together. They like look at LinkedIn and X and like whatever, and they find editors from publications who are looking for specific freelancers for call to pitches. And that's how I get a lot of my work. So basically, like in these newsletters, it's like a roundup of editors looking for specific story ideas or writers with specific experience. And then you see the requirements or whatever. It's like a job board, basically. And then if it suits you, you email the editor, and if you're the right fit, then you get the assignment. Um, or it's like if an editor has a pitch call for something, then it's like an invitation to pitch very specific stories. So yeah, I think I spend around 15-ish dollars on maybe 2 or 3 of those, but they're very helpful. I actually just remembered that these would be a tax write-off for me, but I've never written them off, so I should probably make a note of that for next tax season. It's a learning experience being a freelance writer, I will tell you. Or maybe I'm just a slow learner. I don't know. And then other work stuff is I use Google Docs for most of my writing, and I am a high volume writer, so I have a lot of storage needs. I like to keep my stories after I write them, the raw files, so I pay for Google Storage as well. Next up is health. Um, so planned $0. This is because I I used to be like obsessed with vitamins, which sounds so weird, but I have psoriatic arthritis and psoriasis, and for a long time I was very hesitant on getting actual medical care for that. I was like really deep into the like wellness, uh, kind of granola leaning healthcare. I don't know why, but I was obsessed with like taking vitamins. Like I feel like I had probably like 50 vitamin bottles in my cabinet and I would take them every day. So for a while I was spending a lot on vitamins. This was like multiple years ago. Now I just take like B12 because I'm a vegetarian, magnesium, omega 3, and vitamin D in the wintertime. But I put my vitamins in my grocery budget. That's why it said 0. And then for medication, I do take medication for my psoriatic arthritis now. I take a pill called methotrexate, um, and you can buy it over the counter in Istanbul, which is kind of strange, but it was a lot less expensive there. So I like picked up a lot of it before I moved back, and I haven't had to buy it since coming back to Canada. But when I run out and I get a prescription from my rheumatologist, it will probably be around $40 to $50 a month from the pharmacy here in Canada. So that will change soon. Okay. So the next category is insurance, which I have nothing. I mean, I do have tenant insurance, but I grouped that into the housing cost. I think it makes more sense. I used to have life insurance, which is kind of funny. My financial advisor told me to get life insurance when I was like 27, maybe. And I don't know why, because I'm single. I don't have any dependents aside from Molly, my cat. And I don't have any property or anything. So when I was in intense debt payoff mode a couple of years ago, I canceled it. I think it was like $40 a month. I can't remember exactly, but like I had my mom and my best friend on it as the recipients or whatever. So I was like, I don't think I need to pay this $40 a month. So I canceled it. And I kind of feel like you could argue that it was smart that I got it when I was younger. Like, I wasn't formally diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis or anything. I think it was for $250,000. And like, I wondered if I would regret canceling it if like I had kids in the future or like had a property with a partner or whatever. But then I was like, if I have investments anyway, it kind of shakes out to the same thing from what I understand. So I was fine with canceling it. Moral of the story. So then we get into the debt category, which is a whole thing. So basically, I have been in tax debt for years, basically since I became a freelance writer. Um, I have other videos on this, but basically, I just like never saved up enough to pay my taxes. And I realized one day when the CRA like got one of my bank accounts and froze it that I had to fix the situation. Like being in extreme tax debt was not cute. So I've paid off like, I mean, at this point, it's 6 figures of tax debt, um, which sounds impressive, but it's like was income that I made and owed. So it's not really that impressive. I mean, I guess it is when you look at how I had to actually pay it off as if it was a debt. But, anyways, my point is that it's been really hard to catch up to the point where I am doing the quarterly installments that you're supposed to do here in Canada. And I should be saving 25 to 30% of my income. I live in Quebec, so it's one of the higher taxed provinces. But right now, I just use the 3,800 to pay for my day-to-day and fixed living expenses, and then literally every single other dollar I make goes towards my debt. So if you look at my current debt situation, I have something called LOC 2, which has $9,000 on it. That's the maximum. I paid off $700 already this month, and my plan right now is just like every extra dollar I make on top of the 3,800 will go onto this line of credit. The reason this is so high is because it was a lot of moving expenses coming back from Turkey to Canada so quickly. And so I plan to pay this off by the time my self-employed taxes are due for the year of 2025. And I tried to pay in installments last year. I feel like I'm almost out of the cloud of like owing a ton of money for my taxes. So I was able to start paying the installments last year. So I think my accountant will let me know in the next couple of weeks, but I think I will owe about $9,000. So once this line of credit is paid off, I will then use it. It'll have a $0 balance, and then I will use it to pay my taxes. And then at least I will have no outstanding debt from the CRA. And then I will just pay off the line of credit again and start on the 2026 taxes, um, which feels like another mountain, but we're working through it. Anyway, if you open the like paid off debts, you'll see, oh my gosh, like it's crazy to think about all of these debts that I've been paying off since I've opened this app, which is 2 years ago. But I just paid off LOC 1 last month. So that had about $4,000 on it. And that was more moving expenses, basically. Like moving between continents and then across the country, I will tell you, it's not cheap. And I did not have an emergency fund or a sinking fund for moving or anything. So it just all went on my line of credits and I'm slowly paying it back. Um, yeah, and then my other debt is an RRSP loan, which I pay $813.64 per month. That is fixed because it's automatically withdrawn from my account and I don't put any extra on it. Yeah, my financial advisor told me to take this loan out a couple of years ago, when the freelance writing industry was really good and I was making like $150,000 a year. RIP to that era. It was like 2 years of decent income, and that's when I wasn't paying my taxes. So I really felt like I was living large, but I'm paying for that now. Um, but yeah, so I took out a loan of like $40,000, which is great because it was invested and the investments are growing. But I still have to pay this back. I think I have another 2 years of paying $813.64 every month until it's completely paid back, which is fine because even though I've been in like serious tax and consumer debt, I feel like having this loan payment, it's basically like forced me to invest. So my investment portfolio is around 6 figures, which I don't think it would have been if I didn't have this loan and like forced me, like, it was basically like forced investing, but it was pre-invested, if that makes sense. So even though that like eats into my budget and like sometimes will stress me out because I know I have to come up with it just like my rent, and it's kind of a big number. I am grateful that I did that because it did force me to invest, and my money has been in the stock market now for many years. So yeah, that kind of concludes my spending, my budget planning for the month. 38.50 does seem to work for me. I still don't really know why it says I have an extra $1,000 left to budget. I guess I could add it up and see. I know that my like bare minimum spending, like if I got no writing work for a month and I had to like pare everything down to just the essentials, I think it's around 300, so, or 3,000. I wish it was 300. So anyway, I guess I could look into that. Maybe a later Kate will pop in and tell you, but anyway, I don't zero-based budgeting I think works for some people, but for me just having an not just an idea, but like being able to see where my money is going and also plan the fixed expenses so that I just know. It works for me, even if it's like, I don't know. I admire the people that know like down to the dollar, but I think as a freelancer and like somebody who is just paying off immense amounts of debt, like this just like works for me. It's like I know I have my bases covered and then like anything extra I just put onto my debt. Like I look forward to not having to do that when I'm out of debt. I feel like I kind of still will end up doing that, but just like instead of putting money on debt, I will have like a holiday sinking fund and then investments. Like I will just put everything extra into my Questrade account. But anyway, so that's that. Let me know in the comments if you also deal with flux income like this. I feel like it can be really hard to get a handle of. At least it was for me. So I hope this was helpful or at least interesting. I'm so nosy. I love watching these videos from other people. So I hope you enjoyed this as well. And see you in the next one.